Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Is everyone awake? All right. Is everyone fired up and ready to go? All right. So my name's TomKalil, and I work for what I think is the coolest part of the White House because we get to work on the future. So we have people who work on robotics, the ability to not only read DNA, so the cost of sequencing the human genome has come down from $3 billion to rapidly approaching $1,000. But what happens when we have the ability to write DNA? What happens when we have the ability to design biological systems and use that to create the foundation for the bioeconomy? What happens when we have networks that can transmit trillions of bits per second? So these are examples of the issues that the Office of Science and Technology Policy gets to work on. And in the same way that the government began investing in what became the internet in 1969 and then supported the development of the first graphical web browser, which became the basis of Netscape. And the National Science Foundation supported a program called the Digital Library Initiative that supported two Stanford graduate students that you may have heard of, Larry and Sergey, who've done pretty well for themselves. OSTP is responsible for thinking about how do we create the right environment for the United States to be the scientific and technological leader in the world. And one of the initiatives that President Obama has launched is called Startup America. And it's all about continuing to make the United States the best place in the world to start a business and grow a business and create lots of jobs and wealth and economic growth and prosperity. And the reason that the president is focused on these issues is that high-growth entrepreneurs are responsible for all of the net job creation in the United States. That's number one. Number two, the ability to create new businesses is really a unique area of strength for America because we have 17 of the top 20 research universities. We have entrepreneurial hotspots in Northern California, Southern California, Research Triangle Park, Route 128, and we have a culture that encourages risk-taking and tolerates failure. And that's very important. So what are we doing? We really have a three-part strategy. One is what can we do working with the Congress to pass legislation that will improve the environment for high-growth entrepreneurship. So the president, when he talked about his Jobs Act, said, if the Congress passes legislation that will make it easier for high-growth entrepreneurs to raise capital, then I will sign it. And we were able to work with Congress on a bipartisan basis, Democrats and Republicans, to pass legislation that creates a legal framework for crowdfunding, which was previously illegal, for equity crowdfunding, number one. Number two, to create an IPO on-ramp so that companies that were going public, there was less regulation in terms of things like Sarbanes-Oxley 404B that was making it more expensive for companies to go public. And finally, increasing the size of mini public offerings from 5 million to 50 million. So that's legislation that the president signed earlier this year. And I think that it is going to make it easier for entrepreneurs to raise money and to go public. The second track is what the administration can do that does not require legislation. So we have, the federal government invests $140 billion a year in research and development. And we've asked the agencies to figure out how they can do a better job of moving ideas from the lab to the marketplace. So for example, the National Science Foundation has a program called Innovation Corps, which is connecting students to successful serial entrepreneurs to help them move ideas from the lab to the marketplace. The Department of Education moved forward on a program that we call Pay As You Earn. So one of the things that deters young people from starting their own business is that they have student loans. So there's a lot of pressure for them, to go work in a business where they can be guaranteed that they're going to make enough to pay back their student debt. And so, they might be more attracted to go into the financial sector or to management consulting. Now, there's nothing wrong with that, but we also want to give young people the opportunity to not just get a job, but to create jobs. And through this pay-as-you-earn, the bureaucratic term is income-based repayment. The federal government is great at marketing and branding. That allows entrepreneurs to be able to cap their student loan repayments as a percentage of their income. Todd Park, who is our new Chief Technology Officer, just launched a program called Presidential Innovation Fellows, where he recruited 18 entrepreneurs from across the country to actually join the federal government and help him with an effort to identify data that the federal government has and to make it publicly available. You say, well, why should I care about that? In the 1980s, the federal government began to make GPS data available to the private sector for the first time. And that has enabled the development of a $90 billion market in terms of GPS and location-based services. So think about all of the startups and large companies that are now rely on GPS. So that's really exciting. So that's the second track, is what are the things that we can do that do not, that the executive branch can do that does not require legislation. The third track is what can the private sector do? And when the president issued this call to action, we were delighted when Steve Case, the co-founder of AOL and the Kaufman Foundation, came to us and said, we would like to create the Startup America Partnership as an organization that would exist outside the federal government. And in a very short period of time, they have been able to recruit over 100 large companies who are all, and small companies who are all committed to improving the entrepreneurial ecosystem in the United States. And they've made financial and in-kind commitments of over $1.5 billion. So if you don't know about this, go to s.co, very short URL, easy to remember. And not only that, they have worked with entrepreneurs all over the country to create Startup America regions in 28 states. And there's a lot of really cool stuff that is happening, not just in Northern California, but in Kentucky and Iowa and states across the country that are working together to improve the entrepreneurial ecosystem. One of the things that the White House can do is to convene. The president can issue a call to action, and we can bring together Fortune 500 companies and serial entrepreneurs and governors and mayors and university presidents and philanthropists and nonprofit organizations and ask them what they are prepared to do to continue to make the United States the best place to start a business and to grow a business. And I welcome your ideas about how we can continue to work together to build on the success of the Startup America initiative. And I also want to introduce Doug Rand. Doug, if you could stand, wave. Doug has been doing fantastic work. He's an entrepreneur himself and has been doing great work. So when people bring us issues, Doug gets to work on it, and working with colleagues across the federal government, the Treasury Department, the Small Business Administration, which has been doing a fantastic job in terms of expanding access to capital and increasing support for entrepreneurship education and mentorship programs. So we want you to know that administration remains committed to this, and we welcome your ideas about what concretely we can do so that the United States remains the best place in the world to be an entrepreneur. Thank you very much.